Hey everyone, welcome to our WordPress Gutenberg training. We'll be going over some of the basics of updating your WordPress website. We'll be using our own website as a demo, so just keep in mind that everyone's website is a little bit different. Some things may not look exactly like they do on your own site. So to get started, you'll need to log into your website. All you'll have to do is add a / site login to the end of your URL. Once you're there, add your username, your password, and hit login. Once you've logged in, you will hit the dashboard page. Before we dive into the specifics of the dashboard, I'm going to show you how to update your password. On the top right-hand corner of your screen, hover over your name, and then click Edit Profile. Here you'll see lots of different information that you could potentially update, but there's really only a few things that are typically updated, which might be your email address, your name, like maybe your last name changes, or your password. I'm going to scroll down to where you can update your password. There's going to be an account management and new password section. There you can click the Set New Password button. It's going to automatically create a strong password for you. I recommend you set this to something that you can remember. And once you've done that, scroll to the bottom and click the blue Update Profile button. I'm not changing my password, so I'm just going to navigate back to the dashboard. You can do that by using the left-hand menu here. I'm going to click Dashboard, that's at the very top. Here, there's going to be different blocks of information depending upon what's important to your website. The two that are most likely going to be on your dashboard are the Welcome to Vivid Image and Vivid Image Info blocks. If you don't see these, it's possible that they are closed, and you can simply expand those by clicking the little arrow on the right-hand side. You can do that for other blocks that you see in there as well. Maybe you have a form or a Gravity Forms block. If you're missing these completely, you can go to the screen options at the top and drop that down, and next to either title for the widget, you can just simply click that check mark. And you can see that it either goes away or reappears. You can also click and drag these in any order that you'd like them to be. In the Welcome to Vivid Image block, you're just going to have some helpful tips and maybe ideal image sizes and links to tutorials that we've created for you to help you with editing your website. On the Vivid Image Info block, you're going to see some buttons that will take you to the email address that you need to contact our support team, our billing department, or just to send us your updated information. Things that I'd like to talk about most today are pages, posts, media library, forms, and menu. First, I'd like to dive into pages and posts, but I will show you what the difference between those two are. I'm going to do that by going to the front end of our website. And so a page is likely what you imagine it to be. If I were to go to the About page on our site, this is a page. If I were to click on Web Design in our main menu, this is going to go to the Web Design page. Now, posts are something that belong to your blog or your news section. So if I click on blog, this isn't going to list out pages. This is listing out different posts. So these are a blog post. If you click into any of them, you might be able to see some visual differences depending upon how your site was created. For us, a visual difference is that this is telling us where in the blog it exists in the social media category. And it will depend upon your site and the stylings that you have. So when we're editing these in the back end, pages and posts are going to work quite similarly, but there are going to be some key differences that I'll make sure to go over with you when we get to that point. I'm going to head back to the back end of the site and get rid of these extra tabs, and then we'll dive into pages. So you can see that there's a long list of links that are here. Each one of these blue links are page titles. So these are all the pages that exist on the site. On the right-hand corner, you can see I'll highlight it. I'm on page 1 of 3, so we've got 3 pages. And you can simply click the right arrow to navigate further on, or if you're just going to want to search for a page title, just click into the search section and start typing, hit click search pages, and it will produce those results for you. If I were to want to edit the web design page, I could simply click on web design, or I can click this edit button that shows below. You will notice once you're working with WordPress that there will be multiple ways to achieve the same thing. So it doesn't matter how you get there, you're going to have your own preferences as you work more and more with your site. So I'm just going to go ahead and click into web design and show you what it looks like in the back end of a page. So this section here, now all the way down as I scroll, is going to show you largely what the front end of your site is going to look like with this page. There are going to be some differences, and we'll go over that soon. But for the most part, a lot of this is what you see is what you get. As I click into different sections of this, like if I'm clicking on this text here, this is considered a block. This is considered a block. This here is considered a block. So each one of these different sections are technically called blocks. On the right-hand side, you'll notice things are changing as I click into different areas. This says it's a heading block. This says it's a heading block. This is a paragraph block. This is an image block. And this is a button block. So there's going to be a couple of different things here that will be helpful to describe to you. And one is the block library, and one is the block settings section. So the block library, you can access that by clicking this blue plus sign button. It's going to show you all the blocks that you have available to you. These blocks can be added into your site. It's going to look like a lot. You may not even have to access this block section if you're just going to be updating pages that already exist and just tweaking the content that's already there. This will be helpful if you want to be adding new elements to a page, or if you're starting with a brand new page. So as you can see under this text section, we've got the paragraph block I mentioned before, heading block, there's a list block, quote block, there's going to be an image block, and so on. So there's a large, wide variety of those. If I wanted to pull a new block in, just to show you how this works, I'll pull in the paragraph block. I'm just clicking and dragging. I throw it right above this paragraph block that already existed. You'll see it says type to choose a block, but I pulled in a paragraph block, so I can just start typing away. This is just a test, and maybe that's all I need to do there. If I want to delete that block, if I was just testing it, or if I made a mistake, I can click these three dots here, these option dots, and click delete. And you can see it got rid of that block there for me. Now, before I get more into editing, I'll show you these block settings I mentioned before. For most of these blocks, you will not have to touch anything on the right-hand side. It's going to give you access to changing things like sizes and colors. And really, we recommend not doing that because your site is set up with certain styles, and for consistency reasons and the user experience, it's really best to leave those alone. There are going to be some blocks like the image block that you might have to customize some of these settings for. But things like the paragraph block, you're likely not going to have to touch any of that. On the right-hand side, again, I was mentioning the block tab. I'm going to show you there's actually also a page tab. This is likely what shows right when you come into a new page or you're editing a page. This is telling you the settings of your entire page, not just a block. So the things that might be important to pay attention to are going to be this URL right here. And that's the URL of your page. There's a move to trash button and a switch to draft button. So this URL, if you were editing a page that's already been published and live, do not change that URL. There might be some reasons you have to change that. Most of the time, you will never need to change that, and I highly recommend not doing so. If you need to change it, please let us know and we can put in a redirect for you on the server. There is a move to trash button and a switch to draft button. If you create a page or if it already exists and you don't need it anymore and it's not valuable in any way and you'll never need that content again, you can click move to trash and just delete that page. Again, that's another scenario where if you do that, it would be best to let us know so we can put in a redirect for you. If you're going to switch it to draft, you can click the switch to draft button. It's not going to completely delete it, but it will move it so that only you and other people that are signed into your site can see it. So if it's a page that was live and it was a mistake that you made it live, or maybe you'll use it again in the future if it's for an event or something, you might just move it to draft and then republish it at a later date. Again, a redirect would be necessary if you move something to draft from live. Now we'll get into actually editing your page. I'm going to go back to our list of all the pages to edit by clicking on our logo on the top left-hand corner. It'll be your own logo on your site, and that'll bring you back to all the pages. I'm going to choose the test page I've created. Now, once you're in the page you want to edit, we already talked about everything in this editor area being a block, but if you want to just edit the blocks that are there, you just have to click into that block. And if it's a paragraph block like this, you can simply start typing. Same thing goes for the page title, which is going to be the very top bolded text, or a headline. Once you've made those changes, if that's all you need to do, you can go ahead and save as a draft. You can publish it, which is the blue button, or if it's already published, this will say update. Before you publish a page, if it's brand new or if you've made a lot of changes, I highly recommend previewing that. And you can go to the left of the update or publish button and click preview and then open a new tab. This will take just a moment and then it will show you what your page actually looks like on the front end. You'll notice some of the differences are going to be, you can see the header and the menu on your site. If you scroll down, you can see the footer, and I'll go back to the editor here. As you can see, those are things that you can't see in the back end. So it's nice to see it, what it looks like as a whole. And there's also some things in the editor that's not going to look 100% like it does on the front end. So it's always good to take a look at the preview. When you're done, you can just click the X and then go ahead and publish your update or save as a draft. If you want to update an image, all you need to do is click on that image and find the replace button. Then click Open Media Library. This will bring you to the area that all of your images that are being used on the site are housed. You can find the image you've already updated here and select that, or you can upload to the media library. And all you need to do in order to upload here would be click and drag from your desktop into this section where all the images are, or you can click this Upload Files tab and then click the Select Files button or drop and upload here. Now, I'm simply going to change it to this first image of the newspaper. I'm going to show you on the right-hand side here, it's going to tell you the file name of that image. It's going to tell you the size of the image, and it's going to tell you what that alt text is. And alt text is what will show if the image doesn't load for somebody. It's good for accessibility. It's good for SEO. So always make sure that you put alt text in. I'm just going to edit that. If you want to change an image, all you have to do is click on that image and find the replace button. Then click Open Media Library. Here you'll see all the images that you have uploaded to your website in the past. And if you've already uploaded the image you want, you can simply find that and click on that image. If you need to upload a new image, you can go to the Upload Files tab, and you can simply click and drag to drop your photo here, or click Select Files. Either way, you can load your image in, and then once you've selected it, you can click the blue Select button at the bottom right-hand corner. I do want to show you, as I've got a new image selected, that there is a file name, a date of when it was uploaded, and the size of that file. And then below that, you'll see alt text. I highly recommend you add alt text in for every single image you upload. This would be what shows if an image doesn't load. It's also good for accessibility. It's good for SEO. So make sure that you add something in here. Alt text should be really short and to the point. In this instance, because the main reason for this image is those words, I would just write new product arrival. If it were something like this image here that I had before, this just says person holding a phone looking at TikTok. It could be a phone with TikTok in front of a laptop, something fairly short and descriptive of what's going on there. I'm going to go back to this new image and click select. And you'll see that it replaced it in that section there. I'm actually going to change this since that image is moving. I'm going to hit replace, open media library, and I will just select this newspaper image. And you'll see that that image fills up that space. There are going to be extra settings you can do with these images. Majority of the time, I don't think you're going to have to use them. There is an alignment button here that if it doesn't take up the full space that you're replacing it in, you may need to do align left, align center, align right, full width. These are all different options that you have to play with if you need to do so. One other thing you might use is if you have a link, let's say that this text right here was a link, and I'll actually create one for you. Link, google.com. So if I made that a link and I'm adding this image here and I want that to be a supporting link to Google, I would click the link button, type in google.com, hit enter, or the apply button, and it's doing the same thing. I would never link an image without supporting text next to it linking, because this actually describes where it's going to, but you can always link that as a supporting image. And then again, if you link an image and you don't open it in a new tab, you can click this edit button, press this little button that says link settings, and then you can find the open in new tab button if you missed that, and hit apply. You'll notice that when I'm clicked onto an image, you're going to see different items on the right-hand side in this block settings area. It's got the alt text, so if I need to change that there, I can. It's also going to have some other settings like aspect ratio, width, height, and resolution. Again, you may not have to use these items, but if you need to, you can change, for example, the width of the image. So if I wanted to say 200 pixels, you can see it's automatically adjusting the size of the image and so on. I highly recommend that instead of using these items on the right-hand side, that you simply upload the size that you need so that you don't have to mess with these settings in WordPress, but rather that you upload it to the exact size and ratio that you need before you upload to the media library. Next, I'm going to show you how to edit a button. I'm going to scroll down here, and this item that I'm hovering over is called a button. This is essentially like a link, but it's got, a little bit of something else to it. It looks like a button. If you click on that, you can edit it just like a link, essentially. So as I'm clicked on it, you can see this unlink button here. If I don't want it to be a link anymore for some reason, you can click that, but the purpose of a button is to have it linked. So I'm just going to go where it says google.com here. I'm going to click this little edit button. You can change that to whatever you want. What I've shown you so far has always been linking to an external page or a website. You can, of course, link internally, and that's probably going to be used much more often. But there's a couple ways to do that. So let's say I want to link to the about page. I can actually start typing in the title of that page, and it's going to load me here different pages on your site that say about within it. And so you can see the second one listed says it's a page, it's the about page. I'm going to click on that and it will automatically pull in the URL of that page. That's going to save you time rather than you opening the about page in a new window, copying that link, pasting it in. So that's just one extra way you can do that. Because this is an internal link, I'm going to unselect this open a new tab. We don't need to be opening internal links in a new tab. They're staying on our site. There's no need for that. And so there I've updated this button to go to new link. There's one thing that's not specific to buttons, but I will show it to you on the button block. And that's if, let's say I wanted to have two buttons. There were two main calls to action on a page, and I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm clicked on the button. These three dots on the right-hand side are options. I'm going to click there. There's a lot of options here, but I'm going to show you, I think, two in particular that will be the most helpful to you. One is duplicate and one is delete. So duplicate would be if I literally want to copy this button to a T. I'm going to hit duplicate and it places it right beneath it. Here can make the button say something else. Let's say this is visit Google. Kind of a strange call to action, but you can see now it's very clearly a different button. I'm going to change the link to google.com, open in a new tab, hit save. Now I easily recreated that button with the changes that I need. The other item I want to show you is when you click these three dots and click delete, that'll delete that block for you. So if it was a mistake, you duplicated that button, that's all that you have to do there. There are a couple more things I want to show you when you're editing a page. One of them is that you can use items, like list items. So I just clicked into this one right here. You can see there's a little arrow that points in, and I've got a little bit of text. This is because it's a list. And so if I click into this list area and hit enter, it'll create me another list item. You can, if you don't have it on the page you're editing, go to the block library, top left-hand corner. It's the blue plus sign. And right now it's showing me list item because I'm clicked in there. But if I click out of that and click the library button, I'll see all the blocks that are available. I can type in list, or I can just scroll and find it right here. I'm going to click and drag that in where I want it. Technically a bad spot for it, but just so you can see what's happening here. This is a list. This is a list again. And you just hit enter and it continues that list for you. So that's something that can be pretty nice to have. I'll just show you, you can click and drag just like I showed you with paragraph text earlier, and you can click up and down. Right now I'm just clicked on one list item. If I click out here, and I'm actually going to take this as an opportunity to show you something that might be helpful. If you are trying to move something around and it's not quite doing what you want it to, it may be because you don't have the right block selected, or you just have a piece of that block selected. The bottom left-hand corner is a little list for you, and that's the hierarchy of the blocks that you're working with. So the base level, we're on a page, we're within advanced columns, we're in a specific column, and we're within a list, and we're clicked on one specific list item. So if I wanted to hold the whole list, I'm going to click on that list icon or button. And so you can see it put that blue line around the whole list. Now, if I click move down, it's going to move that full list rather than just moving that one list item that I had done previously. I wanted to move even further back. I click column, it selects the whole column. So this could be something that comes in handy for you, because it can be difficult to just, when you're just clicking in the editor area, it can sometimes be difficult to get a hold of that. One other thing that might be helpful for you is another way to view that list, and it's called the document overview. So on the top part of the page, you'll see these three lines. It'll say document overview. Click that. This is another way to view that list. So right now in blue, it's telling us what we've got highlighted. If I open that up, see within this column, I've got a list, I've got a heading, another list, and a button. And so I can click and drag them around in here as well. So again, multiple ways to do something in WordPress, and you just kind of have to find what works best for you. And it might be a combination of all of them. You can just close out of that when you're done. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to add a form. The form does not yet exist on this page, so we're going to have to go to the block library, and I'm going to type in form. Actually, let me get out of here. Form. It's because I was clicked within in a section that I couldn't add a form, and that's why I didn't show. So if that happens, click out of where you're at and start typing in form. I'm going to click and drag below here. Not a great spot for it on this page, but I'm just going to throw it at the bottom. It's called Gravity Forms. All you have to do is select a form from this field here. So I'm going to click select a form. I'll click contact us. And it's going to populate the contact us form. You'll notice that it puts a little headline here, and I actually don't want that. I want to be able to add in my own headline. And so on the right-hand side, there's going to be a lot of extra editing options. I'm going to click next to form title and get rid of that. And you'll see it takes a minute, but it does get rid of the form title there. And if I want to add in my own heading, what I would do next is these three dots here. I'm going to click add before. I'm going to use a shortcut to say /heading, which I haven't shown you yet. Click heading, and I'll type in contact form. So again, just to show you, this is another trick. If you do a /, like if you create a new row, do /, you have the ability to add in a block that way too. So I could choose a list or a separator or a button, but I'm going to choose a heading. And I'm actually trying to add the thing that I've already got added. If I do paragraph, I'll do heading again. That's just another way that you can do that. So I'm going to click back in the form here. This is not something that you can edit from this page. So I cannot edit the fields in this form from this page. I can edit where the form lives, but not the form itself. So we will get into this a little bit later on, just an FYI, so you're not having difficulty trying to edit the form here. This edit button here will take you there, but we're going to skip over that for right now. Now I'm going to go back to this page tab, and I'm going to act as if this is all I want done on the page. I'm going to save draft just for the purpose of this class, but normally I would hit publish after checking the URL to make sure this is the URL I want, and go ahead and publish from there. So I'm going to save draft. Next, we're going to get into posts. So I'm going to go back to view pages, get out of this section here, and I'm going to go to the posts section on the left-hand side, click posts. Here you'll see it looks extremely similar to the pages. This is posts. You can click into them the same way that you do with pages. I'm actually going to create a new post. I'm going to click the add new post button. And this will give us a blank page to play with. As you can see right here, I was just closing up these extra sections that show at the bottom here, just to clean that up for myself. but you can open and close these as you wish. When you create a new page or a post, it's going to look just like this. It's going to say add a title and then type to choose a block. So I'm just going to add test post. That's my page title. I'll click down here and I will type the / and I'll do heading. And then I'll add in my heading, but this is a heading. And then I'm going to hit enter. And we'll just say I want to put regular paragraph text there. So I'll do / paragraph. And actually, again, I did the same thing. This is a paragraph by default. So if you return, this is just a paragraph. You would only need to do this if you're going to do an image or a button or something like that. So I'll just start typing. This is a paragraph. I'm adding to a paragraph. Not a great sentence here or sentences, but you'll notice too that when I'm spelling it incorrectly, it is underlining it with red dots. So that's helpful for you when you are editing a page. So if you want to add in an image, you do the same thing that I did just above here. I'll do it a return / image. When you bring in a brand new image block, this is what it's going to look like. You can upload here. You can use the media library. I like to use the media library, so I'll click that. Choose this image we chose before and click select. And it's filling in the whole section here. So one thing that can be a little tricky when you're new to this is, let's say I didn't necessarily want this image to take up the full space, but I actually want it to go to the right of this text here. I'm going to click the image. I will click this align button and I'll say align right. And then I'm going to move it up. So what I did here is I moved it up right next to the text and aligned it to the right of it. This image is still very large for that section. So on the right-hand side, this resolution option here is probably going to be the easiest for you. I'm going to click and change it from large to medium. And so, yes, this is a big difference on this site. For you, it's going to be set to what your medium image should look like. So this will probably make a lot more sense on your site for the size that it is, and you'll likely have a lot more text here. So I'm going to copy and paste this so you can see what I've done. I'm copying and pasting that same sentence. And now you can see that this image floats essentially to the right of that text. And I can move it down further if I need to, but this will move it to the right of that text. You can click and drag your image as well. Sometimes, though, it can make it a little bit grainy. I prefer to change it to large if you're going to make it much larger, because then it won't make it a grainy image for you. Now, I'm going to show you the differences of a post to a page, because so far, everything I've done to this point in this post is identical to how it will work in a brand new page. I'm going to click on this post tab here. We've got largely the same settings at the top. There is the URL here is showing me the preview draft URL. So you will change this eventually. I'm going to click in here. You can click this URL and it's going to open it in a new tab for you, just like a preview would. And this will change to pull in your post title. And it's going to share with you a publish option that is something you will use more often with posts. So let's say that you have time today to write 2 posts, but you only want 1 post to go live today. And this post, you actually prefer that to go live next week or next month. So what you can do is just write these ahead of time and schedule it out for the time that you want it to go live automatically. So what you will do is click the blue immediately icon or button. And here
you can choose the time, the date. So I'll just say, well, I'm going to choose March 20th at 8 o'clock a.m. I'm going to close this. And you can see published instead of immediately, it says March 20th at 8 a.m. And then at the top, instead of it saying what normally is publish, it says schedule. So when I do click schedule, I do want to let you know that you'll be able to tell in your post area too what ones are scheduled. So let me actually do a test with you here. I'm going to click schedule. Going to ask me, am I sure? Yes, I'm going to schedule this. And it's going to schedule. I'm going to open in a new tab the post section. And as you can see, it says scheduled. So anything that's a draft or scheduled will have this little black line and an indicator to say if it's a draft or scheduled. So it won't be a question of if it's published or if it's set to be scheduled. And also on the right-hand side, instead of saying published, it says scheduled. So that can be a nice little feature for you. We should go back to the URL. I was showing you it had the preview URL and it pulled in the post title. You can change this URL, click right in here and it says permalink. I want this to say something different. I just simply change that. This is test post. And then that's your new URL. I would recommend that this is done before you publish the site or the page rather than later, because if you change that after it's live, again, you have to put in a redirect. Another thing you might need to be aware of, depending upon your site and how you're using posts, is this author section. Here it's telling you it's me as the author because I'm logged in as an editor, but I can also change it to vivid image. So for us, we're posting as vivid image. So I would just make that change there. As I scroll down, you're going to see categories, tags, and featured image and discussion. These items are what you're going to be using on a post and not on a page. So these are another big difference. I'm going to open up categories. Categories are meant to be used sparingly. Your site, depending on how it was set up, may already have a bunch of them set for you to choose and work with. So let's say I actually wanted this to be about emails. I would unselect next to news and click email. Now you do have the ability to add a new category. All you'd have to do is click add new category and give it a name, and then you've got a new one to select. But I highly recommend you keep it pretty refined in that there's not a whole ton of options here. It should be very relevant and just make it so that it's easier for people to navigate your site. Below that are tags. You may or may not be using this on your site. This is another thing I do recommend using very sparingly. If you have already used tags on your site and there's some that are frequently used, you'll see under this most used headline here, I've got animated GIFs. I'll click that. Design animated GIFs, for example, it pulls them into this field and you can just click the X to get them out of there if it was a mistake. Or if you want to add a brand new one, I'll just write test, hit return, and it's loading a new tag in there for me. Again, this is another way to help sort your posts and help it make it easier for people to navigate your site, but it is not absolutely necessary. And I highly recommend just mimicking what's already been done on your previous posts. Featured image. Your site will probably be using featured images for each post. And this would be what shows in the blog archive of your site. So let me actually go to the front end of the site. We'll go to our blog and just re-explain that. Funny, we're using the same image right now, but this is what a featured image is. On the right-hand side, it shows right next to your page title and your text. So that's what I'm referencing. So I'm going to click Set Featured Image. I'm going to choose a relevant image for this post and click Set Featured Image. There will be a set size that you need for your post, and we will put that size in your dashboard for you under the vivid image notes. So you'll be able to reference what size to be using here. And also, if you don't see that there, or if you'd rather, just look back at previous post sizes for the featured image, and you'll be able to just copy what was done there. Then at the bottom, you'll see discussion. This allow comments. You're going to have to decide if you want people to be able to comment on your site or not. So allowing comments is going to put a little option for them to add a reply at the bottom of your post. And if you turn it off, they won't be able to leave a comment. So it's up to you. I would say if you've got time to monitor those comments and reply to them, because we highly recommend replying to any comment that's left, then leave that on. But if that's something you don't want to allow, just turn that off. If you have it on, your site will be set to send you a notification with these comments. I'm actually going to show you what happens when you trash a post or a page, just so you're aware where that goes and what to do with that. So let's say I created this and I actually don't need it anymore and it's never been live and I just want to get rid of it. Then it's safe to move it to trash. I'm going to click this red move to trash button. It's loading and it's going to bring you back to the post page. So here you can see I no longer see a draft of my test post or nothing like that. I can click drafts and just verify that no, it doesn't live there. So you will see an item that says trash. That's where it's sending a post or a page that you decide to delete. So even though you've trashed it, if it was an accident, it's not the end of the world because it does still exist in trash. If it was an accident, you can hover and click restore, and that will just put it back into draft mode or scheduled mode, whatever we had it on. Otherwise, let's say that you're done. You just click delete permanently. I recommend doing this just to keep everything clean. And so you never are wondering why there's a lingering item in the trash. I'll just click delete permanently. And there you are. There's no longer going to be an item called trash. I'll just go back to all. And it will show me all the posts that there are. And you'll see there's no more items in the trash. I'm going to quickly show you another way to get to the media library. Let's say if you have to clean up old images or are just curious what you've already uploaded, you don't necessarily have to go into the page. You can just view your media library from the menu. So on the left-hand side, it'll say media. Give that a click. And here it will load all of your images that are on the site. If you scroll down here, it's only going to load a certain amount at a time. You can click the blue load more button and it will start loading more for you. So if you need to bulk delete, you can do that here. However, I just want to caution you, please only delete images that you're not using. Make sure that you're not using it on a page, because if you delete it back here, it's going to look like a broken image on the front end, and that's just a bad experience for your users. But let's say that just a moment ago you were uploading images and you decided you didn't need them. Well, you can click this bulk select button and start clicking away on those images and then click the blue delete permanently button. But again, please only do this if you know for a fact that your image is not used on the page somewhere else. And so I'm going to just click the minus sign on there, get out of here, and I don't need to delete those. Another thing you can use this for is if you just click into an image and you just want to know where you what you named this file, what the size of the file was. If you want to give it alt text, you can do all that here. You can also just delete one image at a time if you needed to, and just click this delete permanently link. You can also filter through them. So on the top of the page here, after I've clicked in, I can click right or left, and it's going to bring me through all these images that are on the site.
Next, I'm going to show you how to edit your menu. And by menu, I'll go to the front end of our site to show you what I mean. These items up here at the top, these are going to be called your menu. Some of them have like a sub menu. If you hover over it and there's more pages, you may wonder, how can I edit this? How can I add to it? And so on. One thing to keep in mind that every menu only has a certain amount of space at the top here. So caution against adding many more of these what are called main menu items, but you may have more sub menu items that you need to add like these, and we'll show you how to get there. So I'm going to go into the back end. I'm already there, but I got here by going to appearance and then menus. So that's just going to load here the menus that are on your site. It'll say what the name of the menu is right here. It says main navigation. And this section is going to look a lot different than anything we've looked at yet. So anything in this list is in your menu. Anything that is flush to this line here on the left-hand side where my cursor is, that's called a main menu item. So we've got strategy and web design in digital marketing. So if I go back to the front end, I'll see strategy, web design, and digital marketing. So that's how to describe what the main menu item is. It's going to be that top level item. Now, anything that is not quite all the way flush left and is indented underneath a main menu item, these are sub menu items. We've got subscription websites, WordPress websites, hosting, and I'll show you on the front end if I hover web design, subscription, web or WordPress websites, hosting, and so on. So let's say that I have created a new page. I will just click, let's say social studies as a page I want to pull in. This is showing me the most recent pages I've edited, and I'll click add to menu. It's going to, by default, throw it at the very bottom. So I've got social studies here. By default, it's making it a main menu item. But actually, let's say I want it under web design. So I'm going to click and drag it, and I'm going to put it under portfolio. Here, it's going to make it a submenu item under portfolio. If I do need it to be a main menu item, I'll just click and drag left. So there it's flush left with the side of this area, and that would be a main menu item. Now, let's say I want to open this up and I want to rename what it says. I don't have to go with what the page title is. Maybe you have a little bit longer page titles, but there's clearly not enough room in a menu for that. I could just do new title. I'm simply clicking in there, changing the text with my keyboard under the navigation title or label, and that will be your new title in the menu. You may notice that it says move up one, down one under web design. These are shortcuts rather than you clicking and dragging. If you don't like clicking and dragging, you can click up one, and you see it moved it in this menu area, up one. It's moving it around without having to click and drag. Now, I want to delete this in here because I don't actually want it. You can just click this red remove link and it will get rid of that item for you. You can pull in a custom link. So if your site does have a menu item that goes to an external site, you can use this custom links option. Maybe you have a payment processor or something on a different third party that you need to link to. You can put that link here. And then you have to assign it link text. So I would say Google, and then click add to menu. It's going to throw it at the bottom. And here I've got my external link. And you can reorder that just like any of the other pages that are actually on your site. I'm going to open that back up and click remove. Get that out of there. And once you're done making changes to your menu, remember to hit the blue Save Menu button. If you don't click that button, it won't save any of your changes. There's one more item I want to show you, and that's how to edit your forms. We looked at this briefly when editing a page. We learned how to add it to a page and add a title above it, but we never learned how to actually edit that form. So I'm already in the form section and I got there by on the left-hand side menu, clicking forms. This is a list of all the forms that I have on the website. If you have a lot, you're going to have, I'll highlight it here. It says how many items there are, and then page 1 of 2, and you can click the next button to go to the next page. Also, if it's easy for you and you know what the form is called, you can click in this little form field here, type in the form title, and click search forms. There is also going to be a button at the top that you can add new. But my guess is that the majority of the time, you're either going to edit a form that's already there, or you might want one that looks really similar, and there is a duplicate option. I'm going to just show you what it looks like when you are editing a form. And I'm going to click on default form. Here, you'll see what it looks like on the interior of editing a form. Next, I'm going to show you how to edit a form. We previously looked at how you can add a form to a page for other people to use, but we didn't talk about actually editing what that form says. So you can go there by using the navigation on the left-hand side. I just clicked forms, and this will produce a list of all the forms on your site. Any form that says an active, that means that it exists, you can edit it, but nobody on the front end can see these forms. It means it's an active form that you're using, and it's going to allow people on the front end to view your form as long as you add it to a page. Inactive can be useful if you have a temporary form that you want people to use. Maybe it's for an event and you turn it on for a month, and then after that month, you need it turned off until that event is relevant again. This is just a good way for you to keep track of all the forms on your site and know which ones you're using and know which ones are inactive. All you have to do is simply click on it if you want to reactivate it and change it from inactive to active. On the right-hand side, it's going to give you a form ID. It's going to tell you how many times somebody has submitted that form, and those are called entries. And you can actually click into any of these. So if I wanted to see this one form submission, I would click on number 1 and see the information that they had submitted. I'm going to click on one of these forms so you can see what it looks like when you're going to edit that form. So I'm going to click default form. And so this area on the left is the form fields that are present and that you can edit. And on the right-hand side, these are more like your block items that you can add into the form. As I scroll here, you'll see there's a radio group, there are check boxes, the submission button says let's talk. I've got a drop down, I've got some other fields here that are able to be edited. So if I want to edit what this, let's say, second field says, it just says single text. You can click on that and it will give me a field label here. I'm just going to write, this is a test, so you can see how easy it is to edit that label. You can also give it a description if you want. This is a description. Then if you want, you can make it required. So below the label and description, I'm going to see required. You can just simply check that. It will add a red star next to it. That means that they have to fill that out in order to submit the form. I'm going to unselect that. You can add new fields by clicking this add fields button. You've got a variety of things that you can add here. Most of the ones that you're going to add are going to be in this advanced field or standard field options. Do not ever add in a post field. This is not something that will be useful to you. So use the standard fields and advanced fields. If you just want single line text, this means they can enter anything you want them to in the field. If I click advanced fields, I can see the name, date, time, website, email. It's going to look for a certain standard of text that's entered. So let's say I want email. I'm going to click and drag that over. I'm going to say email. This means that they have to add in something that is a legitimate email address.
let's say I don't actually want that field, I would click the delete button here. And it's going to warn me that deleting a field will delete your entry data associated with it. So now is a good time to explain that if you've been using this form and people have been submitting to it already, do not delete fields that have already existed. You can add new fields and you can hide them if you really need to, but do not delete them because it will delete the data that was associated with that field. If you need help with that and deleting or hiding a field, please let us know and we'll walk you through those steps. For now, I'm going to click OK because this is a form that I haven't used before and they have not used that field I deleted. Once you've made the changes you want to make, you can just click Save Form. At the top of the page, you will see a Settings and Entries button. Settings, this is going to give you access to what the confirmation message says and what the notification emails look like. Entries are going to tell you the actual submission. So if I click Entries, just to show you, there's no entries on this form, but it will give you all the data that they entered in the form. You can delete them from here. You can manage them from here. And it comes in handy if you are worried that you're not getting form submissions to your email. You can always come back into your forms that are set up on the site and access those submissions there. I'm going to click back and go to Settings, Confirmations. This is where you can edit the confirmation message that someone sees after they submit your form. So I'm going to click Default Confirmation. And this is very common that it just gives a little bit of text. It says, thanks for contacting us. We'll get in touch with you shortly. You can simply click in this area and start typing away. And then when you're done editing that message, click Save Confirmation. If you'd prefer that it goes to a thank you page that you've already created, you can click Page and select that page from the drop down and then click Save. There's just a couple different options that you have depending upon what you need. The other thing that may be useful to you are the notifications and adjusting who those send to. So this would be if somebody submits a form, how are you being made aware that the form was submitted? So I'm going to click on Admin Notification. And you will see in the Send to Email section, it will likely have your own email or whomever on your whomever at your organization receives these emails, but you can add to that list just by adding a comma and doing another email address that you have and just separating those by commas. You can send to multiple email addresses rather than just the one person. Also, if you prefer, you can adjust the subject line. If this doesn't give you enough information and you need more details on the subject, you can adjust that here. And you can also add a message to what comes in the actual email. So by default, you'll likely want to keep that it's pulling in dynamically all the fields that they submitted. But you may also want a message like, make sure to document this in our, I don't know, portfolio. Anything that if you need a reminder in every single submission, that might be a helpful place to do so. And like everything else in these forms, just make sure you click Update Notification when you're done. And that concludes our refresher class for today. Please let us know if you run into any issues or if you have any further questions. And as a reminder, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. We do have a welcome message with links to tutorials and little tips for you if you ever get hung up on something. And like I said earlier, you'll need a featured image size that will be here for you. Use this as your resource or reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you very much.